Hey the guys, over here today bringing an F1 2014 game video, and today we're going to be doing a test for all the cars on F1 2014 against the Legend AI. The test is going to be run around Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix circuit, and so our test today is basically going to be doing qualifying laps with each of the cars, and we're going to see how they fare against the Legend AI. So hopefully this will give you a sort of indication on the pace of each of these cars. It might help you choose what car you go in for career mode and such, or it might just be something interesting to know about, what the pace of these cars actually is. So now on screen we're going through the setup now, and this setup will basically be a setup I'm going to be running for each single car. So every single car will have this setup on, apart from I'll change the front wing and the rear wing angles a bit. When we get to, obviously the Mercedes, I'll start off with 8-3 wing, but when we get, towards the lower end, I may put the rear wing up, I may put the front wing a tiny bit up, but everything else will be the exact same. So these cars are going to be sort of driven in the same manner with the same sort of setup. So let's get into the test. I'm not going to show you every single lap from all the cars. So we're going to start off with the Mercedes. We're just going to highlight some of the key areas on the Mercedes car, being a top tier car. Then we're going to go to a middle tier car and then a lower tier car, just to show you the highlights and general kind of sense of what these cars were handling like around Sochi. So the Mercedes had some really nice grip off some of these corners, especially here through the right-hander, keeping it in 4th gear, whereas some other cars I have to put it down to 3rd. Now the thing is, if you keep it in 4th, you can get some great traction on the exit, and it just showed the downforce levels of the Mercedes car versus some of the other cars in lower tiers to stay in 4th gear and to stay in 3rd gear through that right-hander before the back straight, whereas other cars had to change down to 3rd and 2nd respectively. So the Mercedes coming down the straight now, again very impressive down to this hairpin style right-hander corner. It sort of almost kind of like slides into place, and it's like a really nice perfect slide into the racing line, and coming through the last corner, amazing grip there from the Mercedes, and gets a time of 140.5, and that was actually pole in that session. So now we go on to the Force India. The Force India is pretty much like a mid-range car, maybe the top end of the mid-range car, and the Force India had some issues here and there. Sometimes it just had general understeer, like here it started to understeer off the track, I had to come back, and that forced me to have a bit of oversteer twitching coming back on track, but generally it was okay. I mean, it didn't feel amazing. Again, understeering here, nearly completely off track. So the Force India, compared definitely to the Mercedes, did not have the actual downforce grip through the corners, and through here going down to gear 2 in the middle of the corner made the back end slide off, whereas in the Mercedes, if I changed down mid corner, it really didn't do anything. It didn't upset the car. And then coming through here down the back straight, obviously the Force India, same engine but a bit less power in this game. That's how they sort of differentiate the tiers and the speed. You just have less top line speed as well. Usually that's the easiest way for Codemasters to differentiate the car speeds. But yeah, through that corner, getting another snap of oversteer there through that whole section, and here nearly going completely off track as well and getting a bit of oversteer on the exit for the last corner. So that was like a mid car, and now here's the Caterham, obviously the slowest car on the game, so we're gonna expect it to be very slow, and it was pretty slow. The lap kind of felt like it was going in slow-mo. I mean, going through here, you can just feel it. I don't know about you guys, but I can definitely just feel the car looks very slow. Through that previous corner, had a snap of oversteer. Through here, the right-hander changed out to 3rd. It just went completely off track, didn't have any downforce there, and it just generally felt like the lap was going in slow-mo. Going down to the hairpin, I had to completely brake in a straight line. Couldn't trail brake at all. Usually you can get away with trail braking to a lot of these corners, but the Caterham, I sort of had to brake straight in a straight line and then turn in, and I couldn't do any trail braking there. And then here through the chicane, just did not feel good. You probably can't tell from just the video, but the feeling I was getting on the wheel at the moment through this last section was a lot of understeer, a lot of lack of grip. It felt like the tyres were just on edge in terms of the grip levels they had on the tarmac. So obviously to be expected, and here understeer is pretty much nearly completely off track, but to be expected from the slowest car on the grid. But those were some highlights of the tests, but this is the full test results. So the Mercedes and the Red Bull got pole position against the Legend AI. The Mercedes had a 0.631 gap to the next highest AI in 2nd place, which is Lewis Hamilton. The Red Bull got pole as well. That was quite surprising. The Red Bull actually did get pole just about by 2/10 pretty much to one of the Mercedes, can't remember. Then the Ferrari, Williams and McLaren, surprisingly, all got P3 in the qualifying session against Legend AI. the Ferrari was only off pole by 1/100th of a second as well, so that's something to note. The Ferrari doing very well against the Legendary as well around this circuit, although I must admit, I think Russia is one circuit that I think the Legendary are probably a bit slower at because it's a new track, and also, truth be told, it's one that I really like at the moment, really in the groove of it. I guess in tracks like Spain or China or any of those tracks that I generally don't like, I'm guessing this order will change, so it's very kind of open in the air, as well as the same thing. You got to remember, this has all been done on a work in progress F1 2014 preview build, so this well may change for the full game, but I hope this, guys, will just give you a kind of rough estimate and a rough guide to maybe helping you choose a team for career mode and whatnot. So let's get back to the results. So the Williams was in third as well. That was by one, basically 2/10 from the pole time by a Mercedes car. The McLaren was also in P3. That was very surprising to me. I thought it would have been at least maybe P5 to 6, and it had a gap of 4/10 to pole. So I think also it was a combination of one. I think the McLaren lap I did was one of the best laps out of the whole test session. Out of doing the 11 laps in the 11 different cars, the McLaren lap was one of the better ones I nailed, where in terms of I was nailing all the apexes and nothing really went wrong in terms of oversteer or understeer. But at the same time as well, the McLaren was only 4/10 off pole in third, whereas the Ferrari was 100th off on pole in third. So I think also maybe the Legendary AI for that random, session was maybe a bit, faster, a bit, not faster, slower than, it was meant to be. The Force India got P12 with a gap of 1 second, 0.670. So to be expected, P12 roughly around where Force India are at the moment in real life. They're about, P8 to P12. I would have thought the McLaren would have been a bit closer to it, probably about a second off pole instead of 4/10. So we'll take that with a pinch of salt. The Sauber in P13 with a gap of 2.4 seconds. That was quite surprising because in the tiering system on the actual game, it's ranked harder than Toro Rosso and Lotus to drive, and it beat the Toro Rosso and Lotus. So again, I felt the Sauber lap was one of the better laps I put in of the 11 laps in total for all these cars, and also I'm guessing again you can factor in the Legendary AI for that random session, maybe not being as fast as they're meant to be. So the Sauber got P13 surprisingly. Toro Rosso in 14th place, pretty much where it's meant to be, 2.6 off pole. Lotus 3.4 behind Toro Rosso and behind Sauber. I guess that's sort of like to real life. I think the Lotus is quite slow, but I think the Sauber's also been very, very slow in a few other races, so it may depend track to track. And then of course, as you would expect, Marussia and Caterham at the bottom, P19 and P20, and this is all against Legendary AI. So obviously, you guys have to take this all with a pinch of salt. As I said, there's many factors. There's, factors of the Legendary AI. It's all randomized in terms of how fast the Legendary AI are from session to session, so they may be faster in the session you do compared to the one I just did against Russia. Also at Russia, they may be slower and they may be faster at some other circuits. At the same time, this is a work in progress build, so, the cars, speed and positioning may change a bit in terms of their downforce levels. And the last thing, obviously, you're not going to drive exactly like me. You're not going to drive, you might be driving faster or slower than me, so that's also something that only you can answer in terms of your speed. But this is just what I found out in terms of me against the Legendary AI for now. Without that much practice, I just went in and did the first lap, truth be told. There wasn't any practice done for these ones. It was just 11 laps in one go for each team, 1 lap each for each team. So, who knows, with a bit of practice, maybe improved for some of the lower teams, but definitely for a top team, expected to where we're where to be expected. So, yeah, that's been the kind of test of all 11 teams compared to each other and against the Legendary AI. If you guys did find that helpful, then do leave a like. I know you guys really like the fuel saving one, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was sort of the same style, like a proper testing the game out and stuff like that, and trying to give you some, kind of headway on what the game's like. Yeah, so do leave a like, comment below what you thought. And I know a lot of people have been commenting about wanting me to do a tyre saving video. I'm going to say this now, I'm not going to be doing one because I'm afraid to say tyre wear is scripted just like it was in 2013. Tyre wear, you can't do anything about tyre wear in this game like it was in last year's game. The last time you could do something about tyre wear in a Codemasters game was F1 2012, where truth be told, on 2012 you didn't need to save tyres because the tyres weren't scaled. But on 2013 they were scaled, on 2014 they are scaled, but unfortunately it looks like there's no mechanics to save tyres. It doesn't matter what setup you do, how you drive, how slow you drive, the tyre wear is scripted, so it will always wear out to a set, lap time. It's just about how you manage the tyre wear. That's all it is in terms of going fast with worn tyres. So I'm not going to be doing a video on that. But again, if you did like this video, then do give it a like. Comment below what you thought. Subscribe to you for weekly F1 content. I'm going to try my best to do daily. I missed yesterday, unfortunately, because I was very, very busy with work and stuff. But I will try my best to do daily from now on. And, you know, obviously I may miss one a day or two like I did yesterday. But I hope you guys don't mind that too much. But yeah, I've been over. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. And again, subscribe to you for weekly F1. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.